Sardines galore, spaghetti mush, and mercury tuna. Which canned foods are worth keeping, and which of your preserved favorites get to hit the road to the dumpster? Canned pumpkin isn't just for pie or the myriad other goodies that proliferate in autumn. There are two types of canned pumpkin you'll find on supermarket shelves: pumpkin pie mix and pureed pumpkin. The latter, according to Livestrong, is a powerhouse of nutrients and vitamins. There's some confusion as to whether canned pumpkin really is pumpkin, thanks to the USDA decision that canned, quote, pumpkin can include golden-fleshed squash. According to Southern Living, the canned pumpkin brand Libby's uses the Dickinson variety of pumpkin, an elongated, smooth-skinned varietal akin to butternut squash. The health benefits of canned pumpkins are impressive. According to OSF Healthcare, a 1-cup serving of canned pumpkin has 7 grams of fiber, which the Mayo Clinic cites as essential for maintaining gut health and warding off heart disease and some types of cancer. Canned pumpkin is also loaded with beta-carotene, which improves vision and boosts your immune system, and other vitamins and minerals that help lower blood pressure and even assist in weight loss. And according to the American Kennel Club, canned pumpkin is just as healthful for your fur baby and can help control their occasional gastric distress. Chickpeas, also known as garbanzo beans, are one of the most popular members of the legume family. They also have a real historic pedigree, having shown up in ancient writings in Turkey and France, according to the Harvard School of Public Health. Chickpeas are a staple in many cuisines and serve as the basis for hummus and falafel, as well as a variety of main dishes and salads. Not only are these golden gems delicious, but they also happen to be seriously nutritious.
You know, Olive's kind of a cute name, if it's a girl.
I prefer chickpea.
Because it's lower in sodium?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
According to Healthline, chickpeas are packed with 14.5 grams of protein and 12.5 grams of fiber per 1 cup serving, and provide 74% of your daily value of manganese, a mineral used to treat osteoporosis, arthritis, and postmenstrual syndrome, among other conditions. Numerous studies have proposed that daily consumption of chickpeas can lower your LDL, quote, bad cholesterol, increase brain function, and reduce your risk of heart disease, cancer, and type 2 diabetes. Finally, when you open a can of chickpeas, don't immediately strain out the liquid because that viscous stuff is liquid gold. Called aquafaba, it can be used as an egg white substitute for making both sweet and savory goodies like meringue, mayonnaise, and macarons. Other than anchovies, canned sardines get a bad rap when compared to other canned fish. But not only is this fish delicious, it's a bounty of stuff that's good for you packed 4 or 5 in a can. Mediterraneans have been chowing down on freshly caught sardines for centuries, but according to Boutique de France, the French first canned and exported them in 1824. Their popularity spread throughout Europe, as did the need for preserved canned foods for soldiers. Sardines are cheap, come in assorted sauces and flavored oils, and can be dressed up with just a squeeze of lemon. If you're still averting your nose from this fishy fish, consider the sardines' health benefits. As with many types of oily fish, sardines are high in omega-3 fatty acids that help prevent heart disease, blood clots, and high blood pressure. Medical News Today says that sardines are very high in protein, minerals, and vitamin B12, an essential vitamin in our diets for supporting healthy brain function, nerve tissue, and red blood cell regeneration. According to the Mayo Clinic, sardines are also one of the few canned fishes that are low in mercury and are recommended for pregnant women. Canned tomatoes are a staple of any well-stocked pantry. Picked and canned at their peak, they can be almost as juicy and flavorful as fresh ones. The canning process does affect their consistency, however, so canned tomatoes are best used in pasta sauces, pizza sauces, casseroles, and braises. According to Healthline, tomatoes are full of vitamin C, potassium, vitamin K1, vitamin B9, and lycopene. Lycopene is a powerful antioxidant most concentrated in the tomato's skin. The redder the tomato, the greater the amount of lycopene in the tomato. Canning does leach out some of the tomato's vitamins and nutrients, but heating also increases the amount of lycopene and renders it easier to be absorbed in our bodies. Byproducts of cooked tomatoes, juice, tomato paste, and ketchup have higher levels of lycopene than fresh tomatoes. The positive effects of lycopene have been reported in hundreds of studies per the Annual Review of Food Science and Technology, and research strongly suggests that lycopene consumption can decrease the risk of heart disease and various types of cancer. Some canned tomatoes have high levels of sodium, though, so look for brands that are processed with no salt. When in season, a fresh ear of corn bursts with sweetness and flavor. But how many times have you bitten into an ear of corn only to discover that it's dry and mealy?
This corn is raw.
I know, isn't it wonderful? It's so crisp.
Of course it's crisp, it's raw.
Canned corn is an excellent alternative because the veggie is plucked, shucked, and processed within minutes of being harvested. Corn is among the more controversial veggies because of its high carb level and possible risks from being genetically modified, according to Medical News Today. However, corn isn't the junk vegetable you might think. According to Livestrong, it's loaded with an array of B vitamins, antioxidants, and a bucket full of minerals in just half a can. The canning process can diminish a vegetable's natural vitamins and minerals, but in corn's case, it's different. Canned corn doesn't lose much of its nutrients and is about as healthful as fresh corn, according to the Journal of the Science of Food and Agriculture. Some cans may be high in sodium, meaning it's a good idea to rinse the canned corn before eating it, according to Livestrong. If you've ever attempted to prepare a fresh artichoke, then it's apparent that an artichoke presents a real challenge. Despite its prickly exterior, the artichoke's heart is toothsome and delicious once cooked. But few of us have the time to clean several artichokes for a meal. Jarred artichoke hearts are often available marinated in oil and spices and can make for tasty appetizers. Meanwhile, canned artichoke hearts are packed in water and salt and can be used in many recipes. Artichokes are low in fat and calories, high in fiber, and have especially high levels of antioxidants. Another plus, cooking fresh artichokes does not radically diminish their nutrients. In addition, by consuming a single artichoke, according to the National Foundation for Cancer Research, you'll get a whopping 25% of your daily requirement for vitamin C, which may be linked to reduced cancer risk. You'll also get about 5 to 6 artichoke hearts in a can, making them a great bargain, too. Often called a superfood, beans have almost magical nutritional properties when it comes to tasks like fighting cancer, lowering bad LDL cholesterol, and improving digestive health via WebMD. Beans are low in fat, full of fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, and are a staple in plant-based diets around the world. But that can of baked beans or barbecued beans pretty much negates all of the natural goodness of the humble ingredient. According to Healthline, baked beans are typically composed of navy beans that aren't always baked, and depending on the variety, are canned with tomato sauce, sugar, molasses, salt, and spices. If they're not vegetarian beans, then pork may be in the mix as well. Normally, a can of regular beans is type 2 diabetes friendly because of its low glycemic index, which helps your body balance its levels of blood sugar and insulin. With all of that added sugar, however, it's clear that baked beans do not belong on any diabetic's plate. In England, where the Brits love baked beans and tomato sauce, a 200-gram portion has almost as much sugar as it does fiber, according to BBC Good Food. Meanwhile, US brands have 12 grams of sugar in a half cup, which accounts for 20% of the daily limit in a 2,000-calorie diet. Baked beans are tasty, but the healthier option is to make them from scratch yourself and keep an eye on the sugar. Chef Boyardee and SpaghettiOs are cheap, convenient, and tasty. If you like gummy spaghetti and thickened sauce with mysteriously derived meatballs. Personal taste aside, however, you definitely need to read the label on canned pre-cooked pasta before you purchase another can. If you compare cans of Chef Boyardee and SpaghettiOs, both with meatballs, you'll see a remarkable similarity in ingredients. Both are sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, which, according to Cleveland Clinic, increases the appetite and contributes to obesity and type 2 diabetes. They're also packed with fat, sodium, and carbohydrates. Oh, and those meatballs? A main ingredient, prominent in many processed meats, is mechanically separated chicken, a paste made by forcing chicken bones through a sieve to collect any edible tissue, per USDA.
But I love Chef.
All kinds of meat are canned today, but not all canned meat is of the same quality and taste. Spam is, of course, widely considered to be the king of canned meat, or at least the most recognizable example, and it has only 6 ingredients. But like all canned meats, it's high in calories, fat, and sodium. According to Healthline, you're gambling with your life by consuming any processed meat, which is linked to high blood pressure, heart disease, and bowel and stomach cancer. The absolute worst canned meat you could buy is potted meat, the primary ingredient of which is mechanically separated chicken, the paste made from anything considered edible on a chicken carcass. With 8.06 grams of saturated fat and 2,418 grams of sodium per 100 grams serving, not to mention high levels of sodium nitrite, it's no wonder that canned potted meat is best left on the shelf. In the play and film Steel Magnolias, the character Truvy shares her recipe for cuppa cuppa cake.
cup of flour, a cup of sugar, a cup of fruit cocktail with the juice, so I serve it over ice cream to cut the sweetness.
It's a funny joke, but unfortunately, canned fruit in syrup is a poor choice health-wise. As per healthy canning fruit is more complex than stuffing fruit into a jar and sealing it. The preferred hot pack method retains the fruit's natural juices, while the cheaper and easier raw pack method employs sugar syrup and also compromises the natural taste of the fruit. The FDA has detailed guidelines for canned fruit cocktails, but only for fruit canned in syrup. Canned fruit cocktail in heavy syrup has 150 calories and 37 grams of sugar in a 1-cup serving. Fruit cocktail canned in juice, however, has only 56 calories and 13 grams of sugar. Campbell's iconic red and white can is frequently found in kitchen pantries across the world. As per Men's Journal, canned soup can be a nutritious meal, but you need to read labels before you start congratulating yourself for choosing a healthy option. Canned soup is infamous for its high level of sodium. As recommended by the American Heart Association, sodium should be limited to 2,300 milligrams per day. But Campbell's chicken noodle soup has 1,550 milligrams of sodium in a single portion can. Campbell's and other brands do have low sodium soups available, which are the better choice when it comes to controlling your sodium intake. Also, be cautious with cream-based soups like New England clam chowder. No doubt you expect chowder to have high-fat cream or milk, but in Progresso's chowder, the primary ingredients are soybean oil and modified food starch, a thickener. These are accompanied by cream and butter, which are way down on the list and account for fewer than 1% of total ingredients. The FDA and the EPA advise 2 or 3 4-ounce servings of fish per week, but tuna is not always the best choice. According to Healthline, larger fish like albacore tuna have high levels of methylmercury. Medical News Today says exposure to this can have a detrimental effect on brain function and may even lead to cognitive disorders with serious or long-term exposure. Pregnant people, breastfeeding mothers, and young children are most susceptible to mercury poisoning. The FDA still recommends that pregnant women consume 8 to 12 ounces of fish, but should avoid albacore tuna, which has 3 times more mercury than chunk light canned tuna. Chunk light canned tuna generally contains skipjack, a much smaller tuna species with a relatively short lifespan. Skipjack, therefore, doesn't have as much mercury as albacore because it simply doesn't eat as many other fish for as long a lifespan. According to the NOAA, skipjack tuna is also considered to be a smart seafood choice because it's sustainably maintained and harvested.
What makes corned beef corned? Why is the can shaped like that? What kind of beef is it exactly? If you're embarrassed to ask these questions of anyone else, we've got ya. Corned beef's name is a little bit confusing. Why? Well, the product contains no corn. The corned in the name refers to the rock salt used to preserve the beef. The word corn comes from the Proto-Germanic word for a seed or piece of grain, kernum. Large chunks of rock salt are roughly the size of a kernel of grain, so they came to be called salt corns. This use of the word is very old, with the first written instance of corn dating back to the 800s. According to Bon Appetit, English speakers used corn as a generic name for any type of grain long before they encountered maize in the New World. When indigenous people in the Americas showed Europeans their staple crop, the colonists initially dubbed it Indian corn. This name stuck until the 19th century. English importers started to use the word corned beef to describe Irish salted meat in the 1600s. That means corned beef had its name for almost 2 centuries before Americans started calling maize corn. Spam has an illustrious history as a military ration. The U.S. Armed Forces fed 150 million pounds of the canned ham product to its troops during World War II. Canned meat has its obvious advantages for combat use. It doesn't require refrigeration and can be eaten without cooking.
I don't like spam! Don't make a fuss, dear. I'll have your spam. I love it. I'm having spam.
So how did spam lead to the popularity of canned corned beef? According to the Jewish News, the Israeli Defense Forces wanted to feed tinned meat to their conscripts, but they had a problem. Spam wasn't kosher because it's pork. After World War II, the Israeli Defense Forces developed their own kosher canned corned beef called loof. It continued to serve loof to soldiers through the early 21st century because the product could last decades if stored correctly. One Israeli soldier said in 2011 that he ate a can of loof made before he was born. The familiar rectangular or trapezoidal corned beef can that U.S. consumers are familiar with was patented in Chicago by Arthur A. Libby in 1875. The distinctive shape allows corned beef cans to stack more efficiently than round cans. This made it ideal for the military as it reduced shipping costs. Although corned beef's heyday as an army food is now decades in the past, manufacturers haven't found a reason to mess with a formula that has worked for over 100 years. A perfectly rectangular can would stack just as well as a trapezoidal can, but the irregular shape of a corned beef tin serves a purpose besides conserving space. The can's shape allows the delicate minced meat to slide out of its package without breaking. Despite the advantages of this can design, no other product has adopted the trapezoidal tin. If you see that can on a shelf, you know exactly what's going to be inside it. Although corned beef has its roots in Europe, the Philippines might love it more than any other country. Canned corned beef is one of the most popular breakfast foods there. It fills a similar cultural role to bacon in the US. The combination of fried corned beef, white rice, and eggs is a classic Filipino breakfast. Part of the country's affection for the product might be that their version is better than the kind available in most of the world. Outside of the Philippines, most canned corned beef is made from finely minced meat. Filipinos use a brand from New Zealand called Palm that's made of shredded beef and has a texture similar to pulled pork. Although corned beef isn't as popular in the US as it is in the Philippines, it's still a fairly common breakfast option stateside. According to The Nibble in America, most canned corned beef is consumed in the form of corned beef hash, a mid-century diner favorite that combines minced salt beef with diced potatoes and other seasonings. Ireland has a long history of raising cattle for dairy production, but beef has not traditionally been a popular meat in the region. The ancient pre-Christian Gaelic religion believed cows were sacred, and most Irish farmers preferred to keep their cows alive to produce milk rather than slaughtering them. Expensive beef was mostly consumed by the highest levels of ancient Irish society, with most of the country's residents eating pork as their animal protein of choice.
What can I say? I am a man of great taste.
Very funny.
Ireland didn't produce beef on a mass scale until it was conquered by England in the 1500s, and the English conquerors started raising cattle to export back home. The English Parliament forbade the export of fresh beef from Ireland in the 17th century, so landowners switched to selling corned beef. As a result, the Irish city of Cork dominated global corned beef production for almost 2 centuries. We have the French Revolution to thank for the invention of canned food. The revolutionary government sought a way to deliver food to its troops at home and abroad while avoiding spoilage. Multi-hyphenate kitchen inventor Nicolas Appert figured out that food boiled for 5 hours in sealed containers would stay fresh indefinitely. The British wasted almost no time in stealing Appert's idea, patenting an improvement to his method in 1810, the same year he publicized his new technology. While Appert relied on glass jars, the British used iron canisters coated with tin to make them rust-resistant. There was only one problem: no one invented a tool to open the new cans. The first patent for a can opener in the US is from 1858, over 40 years after canned food had become a popular military ration. Before that, cans came with instructions that told users to open with a hammer and chisel. Sometimes, desperate servicemen would shoot their corned beef to get it open. When the first self-opening corned beef can debuted in 1866, it paved the way for corned beef to become a household staple instead of merely a wartime necessity. Modern corned beef production was spurred by the English conquest of Ireland, and the British Empire spread the product across many of the regions it ruled. The English rulers of Ireland made so much money from selling salted beef that they were even permitted to sell it to England's enemy, France. Both the French and the English supplied their colonial holdings with corned beef, exporting it to Africa and the Americas. As Time notes in an exploration of the history of Spam in Asia, former colonies have a fraught relationship with the canned meats that were introduced by conquering powers. Canned meat often showed up in tandem with violence, but it also served as vital sustenance during lean times. In an era when many people in the countries that invented canned meat view it with disdain, cooks in places like the Philippines embraced canned corned beef as an integral part of the national food identity. In recent years, Western consumers have embraced the delicious canned meat recipes that Asian cooks innovated because of necessity. Irish corned beef production diminished at the end of the 19th century. By the start of World War II, South America had replaced Ireland as the leading producer of corned beef. During the first half of the 20th century, Uruguay led the way, making 16 million tins of corned beef in 1943. The drive to produce more cattle for corned beef is a leading contributor to Amazon deforestation in Brazil. Cattle ranchers who raise meat for Brazilian firm JBS have been linked to the illegal destruction of large swaths of the Amazon rainforest. According to Dig Jamaica, Jamaica joined several other countries in temporarily banning all imports of Brazilian corned beef in 2017. The ban was triggered after an investigation found that some Brazilian meat producers had been selling spoiled products and paying off inspectors to avoid detection. Deli-style sliced corned beef is typically made from beef brisket, but the cuts of meat used for the canned stuff are mysterious. A breakdown of the nutritional content of Hormel corned beef on Innit reveals that the product contains just 6 ingredients. The list is surprisingly short for a shelf-stable processed food, consisting mostly of stuff you would recognize from a home kitchen, with a couple of preservatives added. Despite this apparent simplicity, the beef component of the recipe could come from almost any part of the cow, including some cuts that people don't customarily eat as food in the U.S. U.S. law permits products labeled as beef to contain diaphragm, esophagus, blood vessels, nerves, sinew, and skin. It's not allowed to, quote, include significant portions of bone, but it's permissible to have, quote, the portions of bone, which normally accompany the muscle tissue. No amount of brain is allowed in beef due to the risk of mad cow disease. These rules give a lot of wiggle room for meat packers to decide what exactly the beef in corned beef is composed of, although they do exclude organ meats like liver, lungs, and tripe. You may be hesitant to consume mystery meat like canned corned beef, but if you've ever eaten a hot dog or a Slim Jim, you've likely already eaten parts of an animal you would never cook at home.
Need a long statement? Never do a Slim Jim!
Like most cured meats, canned corned beef uses a small amount of sodium nitrite as a preservative. The BBC explains that sodium nitrite helps kill bacteria during the curing process, allowing the meat to be safely stored at room temperature. The chemical also changes the color of the meat, making it stay pink even when fully cooked. Although the nitrites in cured meats protect us from food poisoning, they may have negative long-term health effects. People who consume a moderate amount of preserved meat every day are only slightly more likely to develop cancer, and nitrites aren't the only potential carcinogen lurking in red meat. Furthermore, most of the nitrites in a typical person's diet occur in vegetables rather than meats. These nitrites may actually improve cardiovascular fitness. The health effects of nitrites are complex, and more research is necessary to unpack their risks and potential benefits. That said, corned beef is still best enjoyed as an occasional treat, as it contains big doses of sodium and saturated fat in addition to the nitrites. Libby's canned pumpkin starts taking over supermarket shelves when the leaves turn. It satisfies Americans' annual autumnal cravings for pumpkin desserts. Although you can cook and puree your own pumpkin to make pie, most people rely on the ease and consistent flavor of the canned stuff. Libby's is made from a special variety of squash called Dickinson pumpkin that can only be grown in the region around Morton, Illinois. This extra sweet pumpkin makes for the perfect pie filling. But before Libby's was in the pumpkin business, the Libby's Corporation started as a corned beef canning operation, run by Arthur and Charles Libby along with their business partner Archibald McNeil. Founded in 1868, the company pioneered many innovations in the canned beef industry, including the tapered can and refrigerated trucks. The company began branching out into other canned goods in the early 1900s, selling sauerkraut, A1 sauce, fruits, and vegetables. Libby's bought the company behind canned Dickinson pumpkin in 1930, and it's been known by the Libby's name ever since. As we've discussed already, the British invented canned corned beef as a way to preserve and export Ireland's cattle in the early 19th century. Jewish deli corned beef, the sliced cured brisket you order piled high on rye with spicy mustard, has a much older history. Curing meat in brine has been a Jewish tradition since ancient Hebrews started pickling meat to eat during Tisha B'Av, a commemoration of the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. At the time, priests thought that the curing process made the meat less celebratory and more suitable for the somber holiday. This tradition of cured red meat continued all the way through the 1800s, when Jewish Germans ran delicatessens inspired by the charcuterie shops of France. When German Jews began fleeing en masse to America to avoid persecution in their home country, they opened delis all over the U.S. that served corned beef brisket. These Jewish immigrants often settled in neighborhoods close to Irish migrants who had escaped the potato famine. The Irish, many of whom had been workers in the corned beef industry before they immigrated, began buying corned beef brisket from kosher butchers. This ultimately solidified it as Irish food in the American imagination. Have you ever been slaving over a burger on the grill and wished that you could just pull one out of a can? Well, believe it or not, canned cheeseburgers actually exist, and they were even kind of popular once upon a time. It's no secret that boxed mac and cheese is a pantry staple in the United States. In fact, nearly 9 million Americans chowed down on 5 or more boxes per month in 2020. Incredibly, mac and cheese has been around since the 1700s, though Kraft is credited with popularizing the dish. Processed cheese made it possible to box it up, making for an affordable and fast option for working-class families. While boxed mac and cheese is popular on this side of the pond, the United Kingdom has gotten its cheesy fix from a tin can instead. Both the boxed and canned versions tend to be low-cost and convenient. But even though brands like Heinz and Chef Boyardee have brought canned mac to the US, it hasn't really caught on over here. SpaghettiOs were once a staple of the American childhood. While it's still available in supermarkets today, it seems to have lost its luster. This could in part be due to changing attitudes towards red meat. In October 2015, for example, the World Health Organization identified processed meat, including hot dogs, as a Group 1 carcinogen. Nevertheless, you'll still find no shortage of hot dogs at ball games and in your local grocery store's cold case. And you can also still find classic SpaghettiOs with Franks. This version features the brand's signature slippery O-shaped pasta in tomato sauce, topped with bite-sized slices of hot dogs, which are made with chicken, pork, and beef. Kids are still eating them, even if the Frank version has lost some traction in recent years. Unless you were snacking on pudding cups back in the 70s, odds are you don't miss this next entry, as you probably didn't even realize it ever existed. Canned pudding snack packs didn't just become less popular. Instead, they were replaced with upgraded packaging designed to avoid cutting lips and fingers. The Hunt Snack Pack was first introduced in 1968 after the brand developed a shelf-stable milk pudding. Suddenly, those looking for a sweet treat didn't have to spend an hour slaving over a hot stove stirring up a thick pudding. Hunt's also created a mascot, a friendly talking horse named Snack Pack.
Snack Pack! My brother loves your delicious desserts, but he can't open the can right.
Here's how you do it. Slowly now.
But within just a few years, the dangerous cans were replaced with plastic cups, similar to those still in use today. Flash forward a few decades when an episode of the Netflix show Stranger Things featured the throwback snack, and fans demanded a release of the vintage packaging. So who knows? Maybe one day shoppers will be able to relive those halcyon days. When you think about canned food, you probably don't think of cheeseburgers. In fact, we'd imagine that a juicy patty between two buns might just be the last food you'd ever expect to find in a can. These backyard barbecue staples may be quick and simple to prepare, but placing them on a shelf for months on end likely doesn't sound very appetizing to most burger fiends. But this hasn't stopped manufacturers from canning entire cheeseburgers, toppings and all. While a variety of canned cheeseburgers are available today, they're mainly found on the internet and appear to be aimed at hikers and preppers. So they're not exactly popular among your average college students looking to save some money on their next dorm room chowdown. Chicken can certainly be found as an ingredient in canned foods. Campbell's Classic Chicken Noodle Soup is one of the most popular canned soups on the market today, after all. But even with this in mind, you may be shocked to learn that you can also buy canned chicken without the noodles and broth. Whole chicken in a can is largely a pantry food of yesteryear. There isn't a lot of easily accessible information about the history of this oddity, but as with many canned foods, it was likely a product of the Great Depression. During this time, low-cost, easy-to-prepare canned foods became a staple in many American diets. Canned chicken is still popular today, but an entire chicken in a can isn't something you're terribly likely to see on a grocery store shelf. Although, if you're dying to give it a try, you can still find an option on the web.
Just a chicken. Chip, 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 chip.
While the first evidence of tamales dates back to 8000 BC, the history of this tasty corn husk-wrapped dish in the United States began in the mid-1800s on the West Coast. In cities near the border with Mexico, such as San Antonio and Los Angeles, street vendors peddling tamales became so common that they were often considered a nuisance. As a result, officials tried to ban them. Today, street vendors selling fresh tamales are far less common. While you'll still find them on the menus of Mexican restaurants across the nation,
you might have to head to your local grocery store if you're looking to quickly satisfy your tamale craving. Cooking tamales from scratch takes a lot of time and a lot of skill to get right. Microwavable tamales simplify the process, and theoretically, so does the canned version. Canned tamales were first created in the early 1900s, and while they're still available today, they're a rare sight. This is likely because of the widespread availability of frozen and fresh alternatives. Similar to tamales, boiled peanuts got their start as a popular food hawked by street vendors. Unlike those corn husk-wrapped Mexican snacks, though, boiled peanuts continue to be sold fresh and hot at roadside stands, gas stations, and convenience stores across the American South. Nowadays, boiled peanuts at a wedding would no doubt be seen as a trendy touch or the sign of a laid-back couple. But believe it or not, they were a common dish served at high society parties, especially during August and September when peanuts are harvested. The popularity of this salty snack, as well as its short shelf life, may be what inspired manufacturers to can them. However, the trend hasn't caught on with the same vigor as its fresh cousin. While fresh boiled peanuts are still a regular sight throughout Georgia, South Carolina, and other southern states, the canned variety is far less common. They're available in many different sizes and with added flavors like southern barbecue and jalapeno garlic. But this is a delicacy that's largely relegated to die-hard peanut fans rather than your average grocery store shopper.
Anybody want a peanut?
Another regional canned food that's never been widely enjoyed in the United States is brown bread. Canned brown bread, which is available with or without raisins, is a pantry staple native to the New England area. And unlike some of the other entries on this list, the canned and fresh varieties enjoy near equal popularity. Canned bread is not only convenient and fast, but it's also touted as a delicious sweet treat.
Wow, they have it! Canned bread!
B&M is the brand behind this popular bread. The company started in 1867 and canned a variety of meats, seafood, and corn. If you've never had bread from a can, you might wonder how it's consumed. Don't reach for a spoon after opening your can. Instead, you'll need to open both the top and bottom of the can, then gently shake it until the soft loaf slides out, ready to be sliced. It's good on its own, or topped with spreads like butter, jam, or cream cheese. While canned brown bread is still available in New England, it's lost some of its popularity and has never been widely available outside of the region. Similar to B&M's brown bread, this next canned food likely fell out of popularity because it was largely a regional item. Pepper pot soup has been a staple of Philadelphia for at least a century. It was once sold by street vendors as well as in taverns. There's even a widespread myth that this soup was what helped George Washington and his troops survive a terrible winter during the Revolutionary War. And then came along Campbell's, which has long been made in nearby New Jersey. The company cashed in on Philly's signature soup by canning its own pepper pot soup in 1899. But then, sometime in the mid-1900s, the soup began to fall out of favor. Campbell's continued to produce its version for several more decades. However, in 2010, more than 100 years after it was first released, the company discontinued the product, much to the chagrin of loyal Philadelphia residents. If you're still dying to try it, though, you can find plenty of copycat recipes online. The 70s, 80s, and 90s saw a boom in movie tie-ins with popular food items, particularly junk food. From fast food to soda cans, popular film characters adorned just about every type of culinary packaging you could possibly imagine. But some tie-ins were more popular and more appetizing than others. Smurf's Beef Ravioli and Pasta by Chef Boyardee was one of those tie-in products that hasn't exactly stood the test of time. Fortunately, the popular cartoon characters that decorated each bright blue can didn't share the same color with the pasta inside. Instead, Chef Boyardee was simply cashing in on the Smurfs craze that had swept the country in the 80s. While you can still enjoy canned ravioli by Chef Boyardee today, the Smurfs edition fell out of fashion a while ago. Several other franchise partnerships have appeared on Chef Boyardee cans over the years, but this is one that isn't likely to make a comeback anytime soon.
That is freaking smart. Yeah.
While spray-style cans of Cheez Whiz continue to be a popular, if questionable, pantry item, other varieties of canned cheese have largely fallen out of favor. But then there's Cougar Gold. This is a variety of canned cheese that's produced by a creamery owned by Washington State University. Despite its canned placement, This strange cheese product would be more at home on a fancy charcuterie board than it would be alongside sprayable cheese. In the 1940s, a Washington State professor answered the American government's call to produce cheese that could be better preserved and sent overseas to troops. Before Cougar Gold, the only option for keeping cheese safe to ship was to dip it in several layers of wax. This process was unfortunately prone to cracking, which would cause the cheese to spoil. Because bacteria can grow easily on living foods like cheese and yogurt, simply placing it in a can wasn't an option. But then Cougar Gold was born. A special bacteria culture is added to this cheese, which reduces the amount of carbon dioxide in the can to keep it from blowing out, thereby preventing bacterial growth. The result is a crumbly cheese that's creamy and milky sweet, with some gentle sharpness as well. Despite the groundbreaking process behind Cougar Gold, this cheese hasn't caught on and may be tough to find outside of Ferdinand's ice cream shop at the Washington State University Creamery.
Love backyard barbecues? Of course you do, and everyone knows they're not complete without a side of baked beans. But have you ever debated between Bush's and Heinz? Have you wondered if you can get away with the Great Value brand? Here's what you need to know. Mama's Homestyle baked beans are sold in adorable packaging that makes it look like they'd be a total win, so why does this one come in at the bottom of our list? Alas, a technicality sunk this one. If you're looking for something along the lines of an American or English-style baked bean, this one won't pass muster. Inspired by a traditional Macedonian dish, these beans neither have the sweetness that we've come to know and love in some baked beans, nor do they have the tomato base we love in others. They have a slight kick, too, so if you're sensitive to spicier food, steer clear. Branston Baked Beans are a brand of beans from the United Kingdom. Branston sells many varieties, including regular baked beans with vegetarian sausages, and even baked beans with spicy Spanish chorizo. With that kind of variety, you are sure to find an option that appeals to your taste buds. Their traditional baked beans are served in a thick tomato sauce, true to classic English baked beans. However, they are not quite as tasty as some of the other options that come to us from the UK. And we'll say it right now, the UK knows their baked beans. Branston beans lack the depth of flavor that true English beans contain. These beans, while okay, are nothing special, and if you're not a fan of tomato sauce, skip these.
Man alive! What's wrong with big tomatoes?
B&M offers a bunch of baked beans, including bacon and onion, maple, and vegetarian. Their original baked beans include molasses, pork, and spices. Interestingly, they are 99% fat-free even though they contain pork, making it a good option for those who are watching their fat intake. Reviews of these baked beans note that they are a little too sweet for many people's liking, and unfortunately, some say that B&M baked beans taste like a watered-down can of Bush's. However, some say that Bush's baked beans are too spicy for them, so B&M baked beans are the better option. We would have to disagree. B&M baked beans are too soupy for our liking.
I don't want soup.
Clover Valley is the generic store brand of the dollar store Dollar General, and we're not fans. One of our biggest pet peeves with canned baked beans is that they can be too sweet. We don't want them to taste like candy after all. Instead, we need them to be appropriate to serve as dinner side dishes. Just a touch of sweetness to an overall savory side is the perfect flavor balance we look for in baked beans. While the Clover Valley brown sugar baked beans do have an unbeatable price, the sweetness factor gives us pause. Many reviews note that this brand is beloved for the great taste for a good value. If you are interested in saving a few coins, this brand might be for you. Otherwise, we recommend you set your sights a little higher. Campbell's carries just about every canned product you can imagine, including pork and beans. According to many of the reviews we sifted through, these beans are fairly well loved. Many consumers have grown up enjoying and trusting Campbell's brand, so it only seems right to enjoy their canned bean products as well. And that makes sense. Nostalgia is a powerful thing, after all. For some, these beans are preferable as they do not contain any pieces of pork, instead only utilizing pork fat and pork stock for flavor. However, we feel like these beans are just okay. They have nothing special to offer, and for that reason, we have to put them near the bottom of our rankings. Unless you're going for that old-timey nostalgia factor, you can do much better. Fermano's is a brand that carries a lot of food products, such as canned tomatoes, canned vegetables, lentils, grains, and beans. In terms of baked beans, Fermano's offers a nice variety, but we would say that their bacon and brown sugar baked beans are the classic flavor offered in the bunch. While the taste is what we are looking for in a can of baked beans, their texture is not quite right. We found these beans to be overly hard or not quite cooked enough to be the tender beans that we're expecting from a baked bean. Because of this, they are near the middle of our ranking. Walnut Acres baked beans are organic baked beans made from tomato paste, molasses, spices, and white beans, and is one of the only baked bean brands that does not offer a seemingly endless list of different flavor varieties. For those that are health-minded, Walnut Acres may be the choice for you, as reviews of these baked beans note the clean ingredient list and the organic label. However, the taste is still our top concern when we set out to rank these canned baked beans. While this option might be clean and come with fewer ingredients, we can't say anything more than they're just kind of acceptable. Walmart's generic store brand, Great Value, carries many different kinds of canned baked beans, but it's the Great Value original baked beans that contain bacon and brown sugar. That's a classic combination. Many reviews of this brand give a lot of love to the flavor, going so far as to say that it is better than the name brand baked beans. Some others point out that the original baked beans don't have a tomato base like their pork and beans variety, therefore containing less sodium than competitor brands. As far as taste, they're great in a pinch, but we would say skip them. Amy's carries 3 different kinds of canned baked beans: vegetarian, chipotle vegetarian, and western vegetarian. The chipotle vegetarian boasts a zesty tomato sauce, while the western vegetarian happens to have a delicious smoky flavor going for it. The regular vegetarian baked beans contain organic ingredients like white beans with a tomato and maple syrup sauce. A lot of reviews note that these beans are not too spicy or not too salty. There are many people who absolutely love these beans, but a number have stated that there are other better vegetarian baked beans out there. We agree. If you are anything like us, you are no stranger to generic store-brand food products. Hey, who can say no to saving a few bucks? What's more, there are times when a generic store brand can actually be the tastier alternative. This one gets close, but unfortunately is just slightly off in terms of taste. Signature Select, the Safeway or Albertsons generic store brand, carries one variety of meatless baked beans. The vegetarian baked beans with brown sugar are made with white beans, sugar, brown sugar, and tomato paste. We'll admit that these are very similar in taste to Bush's vegetarian baked beans with a slightly thinner sauce. In addition, there is something a little odd tasting about these beans, likely due to the addition of mustard seed in the ingredients. Signature Select baked beans are fine, but are nothing to write home about. Depending on where you're located, you may or may not have heard of Batchelor's canned baked beans. The Batchelor's beans are similar to English baked beans in that they are swimming in a tomato-based sauce instead of a sweeter barbecue-flavored sauce. While these baked beans do contain sugar, they are less sweet than many American-style baked beans. Reviews of these baked beans note that these are lighter than many other brands, mentioning that these have a great traditional taste similar to Heinz, and recommend serving with the traditional Irish breakfasts. We, however, are not fans of this tomato-forward sauce, as it's lacking the crucial sweetness we love in baked beans. But hey, it's all a matter of what you're hoping for when you crack open a can of baked beans. Van Camp's is known for its large variety of canned bean products, including chili, baked beans, and kidney beans. When it comes to their baked bean selection alone, they offer original, bacon, and hickory-flavored options. Upon evaluating their baked beans lineup, it seems that their original baked beans are the real star. Interestingly, the original baked beans are 100% vegetarian. According to reviews on Amazon, these beans have a strong fan base. While many people love the brand and place them at the top of their list, this brand is just a bit too watery and a touch too sweet for our liking. 365 Organic, the Whole Foods generic store brand, carries one type of canned baked beans. These beans are organic and vegan, 2 qualities you may not be surprised to see on a Whole Foods product. Interestingly, they are made with both molasses and sugar, proving to be rather heavy on sugar. After tasting the 365 Organic baked beans, we think these are a great option for those who prefer to avoid pork. Many reviews mention the subtle sweetness and medium-thick sauce of the canned product. We think this one is pretty darn delicious. Mr. Organic is a brand that is known for their tomato farm and factory in Rome. Name a better place to grow tomatoes, we dare you. These European beans are sold at many retailers you can find in the United States, including Whole Foods and Amazon. Mr. Organic carries a few different flavor variations of canned baked beans, and their original baked beans are more true to the English variety with a heavy tomato-forward sauce with a hint of sweetness. We love that this brand contains minimal ingredients and has a focus on health without sacrificing taste. If you are looking for a traditional can of American baked beans, we would recommend the barbecue baked beans variety as opposed to the original baked beans. Heinz, yes, the same company that you trust for ketchup, also sells baked beans. While these beans got their start in the US near the end of the 19th century, they made their way across the pond and became a staple in British cuisine. Suffice to say, the brand is a bit of a juggernaut when it comes to English beans on toast. If you haven't tried these beans, Heinz baked beans contain a very tomato-forward sauce like most other English baked beans. But we would like to point out that Heinz understands the world of tomatoes with a strong presence in the ketchup industry, a true tomato flavor that you can trust. Reviews note that Heinz baked beans are more ketchup-y than barbecue-y, but that is not surprising. Most of the comments we sorted through sing nothing but praise for these baked beans, with many customers mentioning this is the only brand they trust.
Eat healthy and one day you might grow up to be a giant.
You are likely not surprised to see Bush's Beans brand showing up here at the top. Bush's is a trusted American bean brand, with an incredible amount of canned baked bean options to choose from. The line of Bush's Grillin' Beans are offered in many different flavor varieties, including honey chipotle, bourbon and brown sugar, and sweet mesquite. The bourbon and brown sugar is most true to the original baked beans recipe. Made from navy beans, brown sugar, bold spices, and a hint of bourbon, the Bush's site promises each spoonful has a bite of southern goodness. Interestingly, these are vegetarian as is. No pork will be found in these Grillin' Beans. Many reviews reveal a lot of love for these baked beans, noting that they are sweet but not too sweet, just the way we like them. You're probably surprised to see Bush's original baked beans didn't claim the top spot. After all, as the Bush's website makes quite clear, they're a classic. These are the beans, the roll that beautiful bean footage beans, the beans that are met with smiles at any gathering. Bush's offers the most variety when it comes to canned baked beans, including flavors like sweet heat, brown sugar, and maple and cured bacon. Reviewers are, quite frankly, obsessed with these baked beans. Many customers note that Bush's original baked beans are not too sweet and not too salty, and they're so good that some people just opt to simply eat them out of the can with a spoon. While the Bush's original baked beans are pretty darn good, they got beat out by another member of the Bush's family.
Jay and Duke talking action figures. My idea.
Love it. Let's see what I say.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
The number one spot in our canned baked bean ranking goes to Bush's vegetarian baked beans. Whether you're a vegetarian or not, there's no denying that these have the superior flavor to the other canned baked bean brands, even ones with meat in them. Reviewers love these beans because they are a great option for vegetarians, loaded with plant-based protein. They boast that these baked beans are full of flavor without any of the animal products. Bush's vegetarian baked beans are cooked in a tomato-based sauce that is full of flavor and sweetness with ingredients including navy beans, brown sugar, tomato puree, and many other spices. These beans have the perfect balance of sweet and savory flavors with just a hint of a little spicy kick. Spice-averse readers needn't worry, as they are hardly that spicy. The aforementioned kick won't bother you, we swear. However, the ever-so-slight burst of heat helps to provide a well-rounded flavor to these baked beans.
Healthy snacks or sugar bombs? Shelf-stable staples or local economy killers? Some canned fruits should stock your pantry, others are best left at the store. Let's explore which cans are worth your dollar. The majority of pineapples consumed in the US are imported from Mexico or Central and South America, while fruits that are grown on American soil come from Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and small-scale farms in Florida, Georgia, and California. This regal fruit is available year-round, but it still has a limited growing season. When you purchase pineapple during its prime months, it'll be the sweetest and juiciest of the year. Like all canned produce, pineapples are picked at the peak of the season, ensuring that you get the maximum nutritional benefits and flavor. That said, pineapple production can still fall victim to natural disasters, pests, and a whole host of negative external impacts that affect the size, flavor, and price. That's one reason why you should keep canned pineapple at home. You won't have to deal with inflated prices or subpar fruits. Nutritionally, pineapples are chock full of vitamin C, B vitamins, manganese, potassium, and magnesium, to name just a few. They're also the only fruit to contain the enzyme bromelain, which has anti-inflammatory properties and has been known to suppress the growth of certain cancerous tumors. Fruit cocktails are iconic and steeped in American culture. In fact, you've probably encountered the snack at least once in your life. It's thought that this rainbow-colored canned good arrived on the scene sometime around 1930. In post-World War II America, it was considered a healthy alternative for families who had limited access to fruit. And while accessibility has changed a bit since then, fruit cocktail is so celebrated that it even has its own national holiday. But what exactly is it? Believe it or not, the FDA has some strict guidelines about what constitutes a true canned fruit cocktail.
It's true.
It has to contain 30% to 50% diced peaches, 25% to 45% diced pears, 6% to 16% diced pineapple, 6% to 20% whole seedless grapes, and 2% to 6% sweet cherries. Sounds great, right? So what's the problem? Well, 1 cup of canned fruit cocktail contains 44.4 grams of sugar.
Excuse me, what?
Oh yeah. And it gets worse when you realize the American Heart Association recommends a maximum of 36 grams of sugar for men and 25 grams of sugar for women daily. We're talking about 100% pumpkin puree, not canned pumpkin pie filling. That canned sibling is a totally different and not so versatile animal. Canned pumpkin, on the other hand, has had a bit of a hectic past. When news broke out that it wasn't made using your typical orange jack-o'-lantern type pumpkin, people fell into a fit. Pumpkin puree is actually made with the Dickinson pumpkin, whose origin can be traced back to the mid-1830s. It's also not really a pumpkin, but a squash posing as one. Dickinson pumpkins are known for their bountiful flesh because, unlike their grim-grinning relatives, they aren't hollow. They can also reach upwards of 30 pounds, making them the beast of the pumpkin patch and perfect for canning, and definitely worth keeping on hand.
Why?
Well, you see, this multifaceted fruit, yes, a pumpkin is technically a fruit, is packed with vitamins and minerals. 1 cup of cooked pumpkin contains 245% of your daily recommended value of vitamin A, which is important for your eyes and cells. Pumpkin can also be used for more than just pie. It's great in soups, curries, and even hummus. In their natural state, berries are at their best in the summer months, starting from May until the beginning of September. Once their season is over, the price begins to hike up while the quality decreases. Your berries will be smaller, duller, sometimes shriveled, and basically lifeless. These little fruits are full of antioxidants, like anthocyanin, resveratrol, and ellagic acid. According to experts, anthocyanins give these fruits their color and help protect them from the elements. Though the research is still in the preliminary stages, berries and other fruits high in anthocyanins might help reduce the risk of heart disease and contribute to preventing breast cancer. It may seem smart to keep canned berries in your home, but there's one major health-defying ingredient you're going to want to look into first: sugar. The U.S. Highbush Blueberry Council states that a 1 cup serving of fresh blueberries contains 14 grams of natural sugar, while the same serving size of frozen blueberries contains 12 grams. When it comes to canned blueberries, in light syrup no less, a half-cup serving contains 22 grams of sugar. Do you keep a few dozen fresh coconuts and a coconut grater on hand for those moments when you're in dire need of coconut milk?
No, should I?
Not at all. In fact, it's much easier to just keep a few cans of coconut milk on hand. When you're out shopping to restock your pantry, keep in mind that canned coconut milk comes in a few different forms. For starters, coconut cream can be found in both a carton and a can. It has a higher fat content that gives it a rich, smooth, and thick consistency, which makes it an excellent candidate for non-dairy recipes. Coconut milk is also available in a can and a carton, but the latter is typically meant for drinking and less for cooking. Coconut milk packaged in cartons usually contains additives and sweeteners with a thinner texture. Canned coconut milk is the midway point between the two. It's still pourable, but it's thicker and more viscous, much like heavy cream. Canned coconut milk is an amazingly versatile food item that successfully crosses into both sweet and savory recipes. Besides being tasty, coconut milk is darn healthy. It contains antioxidants and antimicrobials, which help keep your body free from disease, as well as medium-chain triglycerides, which help convert fat into energy. The maraschino cherry has sat upon the tops of sundaes, swam around in cocktails, and been suspended in Jell-O molds. The bright red cherries were first created in the late 1920s. Wealthy Americans brought preserved maraschino cherries over from Europe, and Oregon farmers wanted to compete. The problem with this particular cherry, the Queen Anne, was that it spoiled quickly and basically turned to mush when undergoing preservation methods. So a professor from Oregon State University created the preservation process that's still used today. Oregonian food scientists piggybacked on this recipe and created a process that included bleaching the cherries so that they could be dyed unnaturally bright colors.
What?
Cherries aren't naturally that red. Maraschino cherries do have one or two legit purposes. For example, they're good on sundaes and a key ingredient in a Shirley Temple. However, keeping multiple jars stashed away for snacking probably isn't the best move. By the time they reach the jar, they're no longer really cherries. Stone fruits include pretty much any fruit containing a large pit. Peaches, plums, apricots, and nectarines are a few examples. According to the Seasonal Food Guide in the Northern Hemisphere, stone fruits typically only grow during the summer months from June or July until late August or early September. Besides, having a relatively short season, stone fruits fall under the quickly perishable category. They're incredibly delicate, and with one small bruise, you can expect the lifespan of that sweet-fleshed fruit to seemingly dwindle overnight. And what do you do if you end up with a bunch of fruit that's all about to go bad?
I don't know.
Well, you either eat them, freeze them, or can them as is, or turn them into jam or jelly. To make matters worse, the past 2 years have had a profound impact on the cost of stone fruit production. California's Central Valley is responsible for growing more than 80% of the country's stone fruit. California's stone fruit industry costs have risen 45% since 2020, which is ultimately reflected at the cash register. So in this case, keeping canned stone fruits in your cupboards is an economical way to get your off-season fix. You know it's apple season when the leaves on the trees start turning warm reds and oranges and pumpkin spice treats make their annual appearance. The fruit's main harvest season is late August through mid-November, which is when you'll taste it in the way that nature intended. Bright, flavorful, sweet, and crisp. From a shopping perspective, one of the best qualities of apples is that you can purchase them year-round, and they're still pretty affordable. While an apple a day is said to keep the doctor away, canned apples probably aren't as beneficial. In fact, they could even have a negative impact on your overall health. One serving of canned apple slices contains 30.6 grams of sugar. The same serving size of fresh apples entails consuming a mere 13 grams of sugar. Because fresh apples are so readily available, there's really no reason to purchase canned apples, unless you're making pie. Even then, homemade pie filling is pretty simple to make and doesn't include the syrup and additives you'll find in the packaged versions. Canned tomatoes are sometimes avoided by consumers for fear of botulism or BPA. Luckily, botulism generally only occurs in low-acid foods or those that are processed using poor home canning techniques. Therefore, it's relatively uncommon for these little red globes of goodness to cause this deadly illness. Still afraid of BPA-laced cans? Don't be. BPA-lined cans are no longer used by US tomato packing facilities. Plus, the label typically indicates whether a can is BPA-free or not. In their fresh form, tomatoes are packed full of vitamins and minerals like calcium, potassium, and folate. But canned tomatoes have a little extra trick. As they're cooked, the heat actually opens up the fruit's cell membranes. Kind of like the way steam opens up your pores during a facial. This means that your body now has the ability to absorb even more of the plentiful antioxidants and nutrients tomatoes have to offer, especially the cancer-fighting compound lycopene. So in the case of the magical tomato, fresh is great, but so is canned. Yet another fruit that should be added to the I Brews Easily list. Pears come in over 3,000 varieties worldwide. All the same, you're probably most familiar with Bartlett, Bosc, and Anjou. These fruits are touted as being packed full of water, fiber, and fructose, making them ideal for individuals with digestive issues. They're definitely considered high in sugar, with 14 grams per cup. Canned pears in their own juice or light syrup contain even more sugar per serving, and those in heavy syrup are even worse. But the biggest reason you should consider abstaining from canned pears is that depending on the brand, whatever's inside likely does not come from the United States. Since 2001, consumers have shown more interest in fresh pears, which has negatively impacted the Washington and Oregon canned pear industry. It doesn't help that the US imports canned pears from China because they're several dollars cheaper than those canned locally.
With so many brands available, have you ever found it challenging to root out which is the best canned tuna? Well, we've done the work for you. Keep watching for 15 tuna brands ranked from worst to best. While moist tuna is a must, greasy tuna can be completely off-putting. Since many tunas are packed in oil, it can be hard to know if you're purchasing something appetizing or cringeworthy. We found this version of Century tuna to fall into the cringeworthy category because the can is filled to the brim with oil. Sadly, it ranked low on our list for more reasons than that. The fish is packed in vegetable oil, specifically soybean oil, which is highly refined. Also included in their very long list of ingredients are tuna flakes, water, brown sugar, natural ground spices such as garlic, ginger, onion, cinnamon, chili, iodized salt, thickeners, whey powder, and artificial flavors. They also include whey in their canned tuna, and because milk is an allergen in addition to soy, eat Century tuna with caution. Flavored tunas like bumblebee, lemon, sesame, and ginger sound great in theory. Rather than mixing your own flavors ahead of time, you can just pop a travel-friendly to-go container of deliciously seasoned tuna into your bag and peel back the lid when you're ready to eat it. If you love the idea of this, beware, not all flavored tunas are a win. While the flavor combination of sesame and ginger sounds fancy, it may not be the best mix for packaged tuna. The combination of citrus and ginger makes for a somewhat chemical, cleaning detergent type of smell and taste. While we love that the Walmart brand Great Value is easily accessible and, in fact, a really great value most of the time, you may want to leave this can of tuna on the shelf. This tuna takes on a bit of a mushy quality and is hard to drain all the oil from. If you're looking to make tuna salad, the addition of more fat from mayo can be overwhelmingly greasy. While the label states that the tuna is packed, it looks more like tuna bits floating in oil. Quality is a concern, as you might find bone and skin mixed into their tuna, as other online reviewers had stated. Additionally, the ingredient list states that the tuna is packed in soybean oil, making the product inedible for those with soy allergies. However, the price can't be matched. At 14 cents per ounce, this can of tuna just might be worth dancing for.
If I were a lion and you were a tuna, I would swim out in the middle of the ocean and freaking eat you!
Although Bumblebee couldn't create a winning flavored tuna, Chicken of the Sea seems to have won the category on flavor. As an Amazon choice and bestseller, it's clear that skipjack tuna, extra virgin olive oil, water, thyme, lemon, salt, and lemon oil flavor are a winning combination. The fact that they sell this fish in a convenient cup with a lid, spork included, makes it easy to take on the go. However, this product scored low on our list because these flavored tuna packs range from 69 cents to $1.07 per ounce, and each cup contains a little less than 3 ounces of meat. Considering each serving is only 140 calories, it's likely you'll only eat this as a snack or need to purchase other food items to round out a complete meal. If you're a tuna purist and sustainable tuna is important to you, take a look at the Safe Catch, a brand claiming to test each tuna they catch for mercury content. There's no added water, oil, or fillers, making tuna the only ingredient in each can. As a result, the fish does taste fresher and has a meatier quality to it. The company states that they slow cook their fish to retain the inherent moisture of the tuna and to boost the natural flavor of the fish without relying on additives. They suggest mixing the juices from the can along with your tuna for the best taste and texture. When mixed, it's subtle in flavor, not overly fishy, and the texture is meaty. Due to its lightness and versatility, we've ranked it as one of the higher-rated canned tunas on our list. It also hit higher marks due to the pop-top lid feature that allows you to take it anywhere. The biggest liability was the price. At 72 to 90 cents per ounce, it's one of the pricier tunas on the market. Trader Joe's is typically known for its competitive pricing, but we had to wonder why this can of tuna was so expensive. While it is packed in olive oil and has salt added, it's still priced at 62 cents to 90 cents per ounce, making it one of the more expensive brands on our list. Was it the taste or texture that justified the price? Not for us. In fact, the taste was very lackluster and the texture was broken and mushy. Unless you use a large amount of mayonnaise, it's very hard to make the tuna stick together. Additionally, because the pieces were so small, many tuna bits drained out along with the oil. Despite the subpar taste and texture, one thing we appreciated was the simple ingredients they use. Kirkland is the Costco store brand name which typically boasts a higher value than their competitors. However, online pricing can go as high as 48 cents per ounce, making their water-packed tuna pricier than comparable tuna brands. Some consumers have warned that prices can be much higher online than in-store for this particular product, so if you're looking for the best deal, in-store shopping may be the best way to go. Despite the above-average pricing, the taste and texture were very good. They keep their ingredients simple using just tuna, water, and salt. For things like tuna salad or tuna casserole, this is a good option where the meatiness and texture of the tuna enhance the dish.
That tuna didn't salad itself.
If you're tired of plain old tuna packed in water, you may be in the market for the jazzier version Frechet is serving up. With so many exotic flavor profiles, you won't have to worry about creating your own tuna salad recipes. The portable-friendly packaging adds an additional layer of delicious convenience, allowing consumers to toss the can into their bag, pop the top, and eat right away without the need for additional seasonings or oils. While this brand is revolutionizing canned tuna to make it anything but bland or boring, they charge a premium price for their innovation. Averaging around $1 per ounce, this is one of the more expensive brands on the market, emphasizing the fact that this is a gourmet version of canned fish. It ranks higher on our list despite the steep price because they're delicious, convenient, and culturally inclusive, combining some of the best flavor combinations from around the globe. Chicken of the Sea Chunk Light Tuna boasts exceptional reviews, and we agree that there's much to love about this product. Priced at 28 cents per ounce, it's highly affordable while still maintaining great overall quality. We also appreciate that this iconic brand can be found in almost any grocery store across the country. While the availability factor and pricing are positives, their addition of soy-containing vegetable broth in the ingredients could be problematic for those who can't tolerate soy. Despite the minor negative, the flavor of the tuna is very mild and doesn't smell or taste overly fishy like other tuna products. The Whole Foods 365 store brand is known for offering quality products. At 50 cents per ounce, we found this tuna to be a little more expensive than other comparable products in this category, but we thought that the quality made up for it. One of the best aspects about this product was the minimal and recognizable ingredient list, including just tuna and water. Once drained, it appears to be slightly drier in texture than other brands, so additional oil or moisture will likely need to be added in order to yield a moist, tender-tasting tuna. One thing we didn't love was the fact that it was difficult to open and required a can opener, making this product less portable and convenient than others. StarKist is one of the leading tuna brands across the nation, and it's easy to see why. They have evolved their brand to include a wide variety of offerings at affordable prices. One of the tastiest products you can find under this brand name is the Honey Barbecue Tuna Creation, one of the many flavored tuna products of the Creation line. This particular flavor is one of their most popular and an Amazon bestseller. We love that this product expands how we think about eating tuna beyond the standard mayo and chives version. Their barbecue tuna is meaty and flavorful enough that it can be piled onto a bun the way one might pile pulled pork barbecue. Although it has a longer list of ingredients and goes beyond the standard addition of olive oil and salt than standard tuna, we love that there's nothing boring about this product.
Yeah, what'd I tell you? They sent for me. All right, cut the comedy.
Additionally, it's conveniently packaged in a tearable pouch, so you can easily take it to work or camping. Although many flavored versions of tuna are steeper in price, StarKist has kept their prices very reasonable at just 38 cents per ounce, which is on average about a third of the price of comparable competitive products. With the simplest, high-quality ingredients of just tuna, extra virgin olive oil, and sea salt, it's easy to love this tuna brand. Some of the other things we really love are the texture, taste, and value. While some tuna brands take on more of a grated texture, Genova has thicker chunks yielding a more meaty texture. The taste was another high point for this brand, likely because they pack their fish in extra virgin olive oil instead of soybean oil, yielding a more complex flavor profile. In addition to the sea salt, we found it flavorful and moist enough to eat on its own without the addition of mayo or other spices and seasonings, unless of course you wanted to add them. This brand at 42 cents per ounce is a good value for those wanting higher quality ingredients. While it doesn't have the most spectacular packaging, they designed the cans as flip tops, allowing them to be portable and easy to open. Great Value's tuna packed in vegetable oil wasn't a winner in our book, but Great Value tuna packed in water is a much better choice. Not so surprisingly, this canned tuna ranks highest in overall value, at just 14 cents per ounce, one of the lowest priced offerings on our list. Because it's packed in water, it has a light and fresh mouthfeel. The delicate texture makes it easy to flake and scoop onto crackers. Those with soy allergies should be aware this can of tuna contains soy, and there seems to be an overall inconsistent quality where some cans had bits of bone and skin in them. While bone and skin are edible, it may be off-putting for some, especially with regards to canned tuna. The lack of flip-top convenience may also be a negative factor for those who want to take it on the run. Consider this tuna brand the fancier of the bunch. While it's an Amazon bestseller with phenomenal reviews, you have to get past the price tag of around $1 an ounce in order to try it. We found the quality matched the pricing for the most part. First, there's no oil or water added, and the fish is cooked only once during the canning process, while most others cook the fish twice and need to add oil or water to the can to prevent drying. Raincoast uses small, young albacore, making it one of the purest choices, low in mercury and other pollutants that may affect taste and quality. It's hand-packed and has one of the meatiest textures of all the brands. While it may not be the best value for your money, it certainly ranks as one of our best-tasting plain tunas. Wild Planet Skipjack Wild Tuna ranks as our all-around best can of tuna. Without added water or oil, you'll only be tasting pure ingredients, which smell more like fresh seawater than pungent fish. We consider this product the freshest, most mild-tasting and moist of all the canned tuna brands. Due to its meaty, rich texture, it makes for the best tuna casseroles and salads, and because it's not packed in oil, it doesn't have a greasy mouthfeel or quality. 100% pure tuna and sea salt are the only ingredients that make it into each can, making it a versatile choice for various cooking methods and preparations. Not planning to cook a casserole or mix with mayo? No problem. The pull top function of the can also makes it a great choice for a quick and easy way to pop the top and eat it on the go. Sustainable sourcing practices make this brand a little extra delicious. At 57 cents per ounce, it's moderately priced for the value it provides, including transparency of ingredients, quality of ingredients, portability, taste, and texture.
With so many canned soups to choose from at your grocery store, picking the best ones can involve a lot of trial and error. But instead of dealing with that headache, we've made it easy. Here are some of the most popular canned soups you can buy, from worst to best. You very well could have grown up eating Dinty Moore soups. Their cans are recognizable, and their soups created many fond memories over the last 80-plus years. Unfortunately, Dinty Moore beef stew is no longer what it used to be, even 5 or 10 years ago. The problem will hit you right between the eyes once you open up the can. Dinty Moore beef stew went from being one of the beefiest stews around to being almost devoid of beef. Remember those big chunks of beef from your childhood? Well, those chunks have been replaced by smaller, less flavorful flecks of meat. Additionally, Dinty Moore beef stew used to have an equal amount of potatoes and carrots, but these days the quantity of potatoes far outnumber the carrots. To make matters worse, the potatoes don't have as pleasant of a texture as they used to, and the carrots you do find will underwhelm. Campbell's has a Well Yes line of soups that they market as a healthier alternative to their other soups due to their use of real ingredients and the foregoing of all artificial flavors. While not all of the Well Yes soups are bad, the Well Yes chicken noodle soup is a disgrace to Campbell's good name. Sure, this soup might not have any artificial flavors, but the problem is that they forgot to put in any flavors at all, whether real or artificial. The chicken in it is minimal and manages to be virtually flavorless. The noodles in Well Yes chicken noodle soup are very light egg noodles made from a mix of quinoa flour and wheat flour. Other ingredients include white beans that taste like nothing, watery tomatoes, and round orange bits that are apparently carrots. Should you buy this soup? Well, no. That'd be a waste of money. Rayo's makes highly rated marinara sauce that is legitimately some of the best stuff that you can find anywhere in the world. They've become a trusted brand if you want quality. Rayo's soups, which hit shelves for the first time in 2019, must also be really good, right? Tragically, that is far from the case. Rayo's Italian wedding soup has beef meatballs, pork meatballs, spinach, carrots, onions, and pasta resting in chicken broth. Those are impeccable ingredients, and Rayo's clear soup jar makes it look fancy and could cause your mouth to water. On your first bite, you'll realize the main issue. This soup has way too much salt. Technically, one serving of Rayo's Italian wedding soup has more than 30% of the amount of sodium you should consume per day, but your taste buds will think the percentage is even higher than that. While Wolfgang Puck chicken and dumpling soup won't cost you an arm or a leg, this soup is definitely pricier than the competition. Factoring in the connection to world-famous chef Wolfgang Puck and the yummy picture on the can, your expectations will be sky high. But be prepared to be left unsatisfied. Although Wolfgang Puck chicken and dumpling soup isn't bad, it's painfully average. The chicken in this soup is stringy and not the quality you would expect. The amount of potatoes in the soup is also disappointing. The few so-called dumplings you find in the soup are just slimy pieces of dough in reality, and the overall flavor is watery too. Lentil soup is something you may believe can only be tasty if you make it from scratch in your own kitchen. While there are a lot of terrible lentil soups on the market that try too hard and add too many unneeded flavors, Amy's Organic Lentil Soup is an option that you can go to that is consistently above average. Sure, there are better soups available, but this stuff is perfect for a cold day when you just want to stay inside and relax while a hot bowl of soup gently warms you up. In addition to lentils, Amy's Organic Lentil Soup has celery, onions, carrots, and potatoes. All those ingredients are organic, and the soup is free of gluten, soy, and lactose. If you eat a vegan or plant-based diet, this soup should be in your cupboard. If you're looking for a spicy soup, you've come to the wrong can. Though there are a lot of seasonings at play, they add to the depth of the overall flavor of the soup, and not to any sort of spiciness. Healthy Choice Chicken with Rice does a whole lot right, starting with the fact that it's decently healthy for a canned soup. A 15-ounce can has only 220 calories and 4 grams of fat. It's also relatively low in carbs and sodium while being high in protein. Secondly, Healthy Choice has really good vegetables. The celery and carrots are soft, but not so soft that they melt in your mouth, and burst with flavor with every bite. And finally, the broth of this soup is really good. If you have any left over in your bowl, you won't hesitate to drink it right up. Buying Progresso Southwest-style black bean and vegetable soup at your local market is a bit of a gamble. And the reason for that is due to the fact that you never know quite what you're going to get when you open a can of this soup. When it's good, Progresso Southwest-style black bean and vegetable soup is loaded with red bell peppers, green peppers, corn, tomatoes, and cilantro. All those veggies mixed with the chicken broth and black beans to create a winner. Add a dollop of sour cream on top and you'll be in soup heaven. Unfortunately, there's another scenario that could play out. Sometimes when you open this can of soup, the vegetables are scarce. Thus, instead of being a praiseworthy soup, it basically turns into a bowl of black beans sitting in broth. When that happens, it's truly heartbreaking.
Ring, ring. Ring, ring. Progresso. I forgive you. You do?
Heinz has been making ketchup since 1876, and their ketchup is by far the most popular in America. With over 140 years of experience, we know that this company knows their way around a tomato. For that reason, it's no surprise that Heinz Cream of Tomato Soup is really good and criminally underrated. When it comes to tomato soup, you probably don't think about Heinz, but that should change. While this is different from tomato soup you're accustomed to, it's wildly popular in Europe, specifically in the United Kingdom. Give it a try, and you may never switch back to traditional American tomato soup again. Comparatively, this soup by Heinz has a truer and richer tomato flavor. Finding Heinz Cream of Tomato Soup in the United States can actually be a chore. However, you'll find it very much worth the effort, and eventually Heinz won't just be your go-to company for ketchup. You will turn to Heinz for tomato soup, too. Campbell's vegetable beef has a classic taste that hasn't changed one bit over the years. While the beef in this soup comes in small pieces, the pieces are plentiful enough and tasty enough to make up for it. To add to the beef flavor of this soup, Campbell's beef broth is amazingly savory.
Did someone say soup?
Also, there's no shortage of vegetables. In Campbell's vegetable beef, you'll find green beans, carrots, peas, celery, and more. Since all the veggies have been bathing in the beef broth, they taste extra yummy. The only thing that will slow you down when it comes to this soup is the sodium. Finishing off a can of this can be challenging because eventually you will tire of the saltiness. You won't be surprised to learn that a can of Campbell's vegetable beef has almost an entire day's worth of suggested sodium intake. It's best to plan to eat no more than half a can at a time. If you have a love affair with New England-style clam chowder, particularly clam chowder like they make it in Maine, you will absolutely adore this soup. Bar Harbor clam chowder tastes so good that you'll think you're at an expensive restaurant. Bar Harbor is a company based in Maine, so there's a good reason why this clam chowder is so authentic. It tastes homemade, and it's perfect for eating by itself or adding it to your favorite seafood recipe. There are potatoes in this soup, but not an overwhelming amount that ruins the taste. It should be noted, however, that Bar Harbor clam chowder isn't chunky. It has a ton of flavor, but you aren't going to find chunks of clam or lobster. If that's how you like your chowder, you'll either have to look elsewhere or take the extra step of adding in your own seafood. Progresso Minestrone is the very best Progresso soup you can find, hands down. They've used the same recipe forever, and the quality of the soup hasn't degraded at all over the years. If anything, it has managed to get better and better as the years have passed. When you crack open a can, what will grab your attention first is the penne pasta. Progresso puts a generous amount in each can, and all the pasta is the perfect texture. There's also a number of kidney beans and garbanzo beans that will grab your eye. The real star of the show, though, is the wide variety of veggies. Progresso Minestrone has celery, carrots, green beans, spinach, peas, and potatoes. The base of this soup is made from tomato paste, which helps the flavors from the vegetables stand out. While a lot of soups leave you yearning for more, you'll be surprised that Progresso Minestrone is able to fit so much goodness into one humble can. While coconut soup hasn't been discussed much in America, Amy is on her way to changing that thanks to Amy's Thai coconut soup. This stuff is so good that you'll use your fingers to scrape every last drop off of the bowl and into your mouth. Besides coconut milk that is pleasantly sweet, this soup also has carrots, sweet potatoes, green beans, onions, mushrooms, garlic, tofu, and a lot of other all-natural, all-vegan, and plant-based ingredients. Even if you have timid taste buds that don't enjoy a good adventure, this coconut soup is tasty enough that it's worth it to push the envelope and give it a try. While his chicken and dumpling soup we've already mentioned was a disappointment, Wolfgang Puck more than redeems himself with his Wolfgang Puck Tomato Basil Bisque. This goodness lives up to the hype and is worth every penny of its price tag. Wolfgang Puck Tomato Basil Bisque isn't just normal tomato soup. It has actual pieces of organic tomatoes inside of it to make it notably more hearty. It also has an unmistakable basil taste and a sweet cream that immaculately balances out all the competing flavors. There are a lot of good Wolfgang Puck soups that you can buy at the store, but this one takes the cake. You wouldn't think a soup based on tomatoes would be so exciting, but all it will take is one can for you to be convinced.
When I tell you this, you will be stunned.
Stunned by soup?
You can't eat this soup standing up, your knees buckle.
Campbell's has a history that dates back to 1869. While they have had a lot of stiff competition throughout the preceding 150 years, they still are able to reign supreme when it comes to having the very best canned soup you can buy. Campbell's classic chicken noodle soup deserves to top this list because it has the tastiest pieces of chicken you can find in any soup, egg noodles that can brighten even your grayest of days, and a broth you wouldn't mind drinking from a straw all day long. And that's without even adding in the nostalgia factor. This is the stuff of happy childhood memories. If you want even more chicken in your soup, Campbell's Chunky Classic Chicken Noodle Soup is the solution to your desires. No matter which variety you decide to go with, these chicken noodle soups made by Campbell's set the bar for outstanding canned soups.
Will that can of meat on your shelf dazzle your dinner guests? Or send them straight to the toilet? From chicken to cheeseburgers, just because you can pretty much anything doesn't mean you should. Cans of chicken breast contain small pieces of preserved, pre-cooked poultry. They've been heated to a point where bacteria is killed off, and then they're sealed for long-term freshness. So as long as the can remains undamaged, you don't need to worry about it going bad. Canned chicken breast is uniquely worth buying for both its taste and nutritional value. It maintains many of the benefits of fresh chicken, such as being high in protein and containing nutrients such as vitamin B12, zinc, iron, and copper. One downside, though, is that the taste is subpar compared to freshly cooked chicken, but it makes up for that in terms of its versatility, as you can use it for chicken soup, chicken salad sandwiches, macaroni salad, and so much more. This is one canned meat that's definitely worth buying. Whatever you do, don't buy canned whole chicken. It's unlike any other canned meat, especially in terms of its exorbitant cost. As of November 2022, it's over $10 for a can of Sweet Sue chicken at Foodland. And to make matters worse, you won't get very much meat per can anyway. Most of what's actually contained in each can is just broth, not meat. And if you do buy a canned whole chicken, you'll encounter something grotesque inside an oversized, mysterious vessel. Each can contains one entire pre-cooked cooked chicken that's preserved and ready to eat. While this may sound convenient, the smell of a canned whole chicken is something nobody should ever have to encounter. Because it's preserved in broth to help prevent it from spoiling, each can smells like expired chicken soup. The visuals are even worse. One Redditor referenced Sweet Sue and declared, "Sue might be sweet, but she makes hideous chicken." We don't even want to repeat some of the images that a canned whole chicken has been compared to by other folks online. Just know that what comes out of the can is no longer really whole. It's more of a slimy mess.
Ow!
You can't go wrong with mackerel. This tinned fish usually comes in shallow rectangular cans that contain a few fillets. Like other types of canned fish, it's beloved for its nutritional value. It's rich in omega-3s, protein, iron, potassium, magnesium, vitamin B12, and more. Additionally, it contains lower mercury levels than other types of fish. Canned mackerel is also a good buy because it's extremely versatile. You can use it in soup recipes such as mackerel corn chowder or pasta like mackerel linguine. Then get ready for a rich, salty, savory flavor to take these dishes to the next level. You probably don't see too many people buying canned beef these days, though you may be tempted to get some yourself out of nostalgia. But we'd recommend against that. You're much better off sticking to fresh corned beef. For one thing, canned corned beef is a type of processed meat, which has been linked to health risks such as cancer. To make matters worse, it's made with red meat, which can also harm your health. Then when you factor in the preservatives needed to keep this meat in a can long term, things get even worse. Also, it's high in sodium and saturated fat. Not only is canned corned beef not the best for your diet, it also simply doesn't taste or look as good as the real thing. Even if you have a nostalgic craving for corned beef recipes around St. Patrick's Day, you should go out and buy the real fresh thing. We guarantee it will not taste worse than the canned version.
I guarantee it.
Sardines are another popular type of tinned fish. You might lump them in with anchovies, but they're larger and meatier, though they're still on the petite side. This makes sardines ideal for snacking or adding to small dishes such as toast. They're also useful for obtaining nutrients such as omega-3s, calcium, vitamin D, and vitamin B12. Their nutritional profile is also said to help improve brain health, and they're low in mercury, making them safe for pregnant people to consume. You can readily use sardines in recipes like spaghetti and salad. You can also eat them as a simple topper for crackers. In any application, they'll add salt, savoriness, and depth of flavor. Of course, sardines also impart a fishy taste that's not enjoyed by everybody, but if you're a fishy fiend, you already know you'll find it extremely satisfying.
A fish, a fish, a fishy, oh!
Canned Vienna sausages originated in America around the early 1900s. Back then, we didn't know as much as we do now about what was good for us. But now, it's the 21st century, and you don't need to be buying canned Vienna sausages anymore. They're made of a mixture of processed beef, chicken, and pork. The non-canned variety can be flavorful, but the canned version is typically more rubbery in texture. Dog walking company Rover doesn't even recommend feeding canned Vienna sausages to your pooch because of its high levels of fat, sodium, and questionable ingredients. If it's not acceptable for Rover, that's not a good sign. Along with the icky texture and questionable nutritional profile, Vienna sausages are also known for being flavorless. Simply put, there's just no good reason to buy this canned meat. Tuna is yet another healthful canned fish option, as it adds nutrients like vitamin D, selenium, and iodine to your diet. It's also high in protein but low in calories. Unfortunately, though, it's higher in mercury than other types of canned fish, making it the type of thing to only eat occasionally. But when you do eat it, you'll have some variety to choose from. Shoppers can opt for water-packed tuna, which is lower in calories and fat, or oil-packed tuna, which is richer and moister. Simply put, tuna is one of the most popular canned meats on the market. And it's not hard to see why, as it can be utilized in the likes of casserole, tuna salad, tuna melts, and various types of pasta. And of course, you can also add it to crackers for a light snack. Another easy application is adding it to boxed macaroni and cheese for a nutrient-rich upgrade to a pantry pasta. You might be shocked to learn that we don't recommend buying Spam. It's a rather beloved canned protein after all. From Spam musubi to Spam fried rice, the shelf-stable meat is used in plenty of memorable recipes. That may be due to its attractive appearance. It has a lively, pinkish-red color, not unlike real ham. Its texture is firmer than other canned meats, helping it to resemble real protein. Also, many people appreciate Spam's nostalgic flavor. As one Amazon purchaser declared, "Same taste now as back in 1965. Yummy." However, there are better canned meat options available for your tasting pleasure. For one thing, eating Spam isn't going to do your body any favors, as it's high in sodium and fat, and one can contains over 1,000 calories. That's roughly half the recommended calorie intake for a normal adult woman. True, you probably won't eat an entire can per day, but Spam's shelf life is greatly shortened after opening the can, thereby eliminating the purpose of having long-lasting canned meat in the first place. At the same time, Spam has little to offer in terms of nutritional benefits. To make matters even worse, it contains potentially harmful preservatives like sodium nitrate. If you want to try Spam, try ordering it at a restaurant. There just simply isn't enough reason to justify buying an entire can for your home.
Spam, 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 spam,
Tinned salmon has plenty of obvious appeal, as it's long been considered a superfood. While that term isn't exactly scientific, it still points to the fact that nutrient-rich salmon is considered a useful addition to almost everyone's diet. Canned salmon comes with all those benefits and more. It's even better than fresh salmon insofar as you don't have to cook it. You can even eat it straight out of the can. Because cooking salmon is notoriously finicky, this is especially good news for home chefs.
Good news, everyone!
Purchasing canned salmon is a good idea because it's nutritious, tasty, and versatile. It's high in protein, omega-3s, and B vitamins. Simply put, adding canned salmon to your go-to recipes will yield delicious results. You can use it on salmon patties, salmon salad, or fish soup. If you like fishy flavors, you absolutely won't regret purchasing canned salmon. A canned cheeseburger is one particular preserved meat that you've probably never heard of. If that's indeed the case, then consider yourself lucky. This strange product consists of one entire cheeseburger shoved into a single can. Each can contains all the components of a normal burger. There's a bun, meat, cheese, pickles, ketchup, and mustard. Of course, as this is a canned product, each of those ingredients is paired with salt and additional preservatives needed to keep that cheeseburger alive. This product was designed for backpackers and other extreme campers who need long-lasting, compact food. But if you're just eating at home, there are much better ways to get your nourishment. And buying this item is highly unlikely to satisfy your craving for a cheeseburger, even when you're outdoors. In 2008, The Takeout tested one of these products and recommended that no one else should ever do the same. The tasters noted that the burger meat appeared gray and covered in film. And on Reddit, people who encountered videos of this canned meat had less than positive things to say about its appearance. As one person put it, it looks like someone else has already eaten it. Luckily, you won't have to try too hard to avoid buying this, as canned cheeseburgers are hard to come by nowadays.
Hamburger!
You've probably eaten anchovies without even realizing it. This canned fish is utilized in famous recipes like Caesar salad dressing and Worcestershire sauce. They add a powerful kick of umami that becomes complex when mixed with ingredients like garlic. And anchovies are useful for more than just sauces, as you can also put them on pizza. If you don't want to bite into a whole fish but still want to add some anchovy flavor to a dish, you can even make an anchovy paste or just buy some from the store. Canned anchovies are more than just a flavor-boosting ingredient, as they are also plenty healthy. They're low in calories and high in protein, B vitamins, iron, and calcium. Furthermore, most anchovies come packed in oil, which is perfectly acceptable for canned meat of this variety. Pork brains used to be an important ingredient in various southern dishes like brains and eggs. That particular meal provided a way for farmers to make use of all parts of the pig in the tradition of whole animal butchery. The ingredients of canned pork brains are relatively simple. In the Rose Pork Brains brand, for example, each can contains brains, milk, water, salt, and sodium nitrate. That all sounds pretty familiar, except for those brains, of course. If you're not a farmer, there's no need to try this. And even if you are a farmer, it's still not a great idea. And even if you're a culinary daredevil who likes to sample weird things or you've eaten brains before and liked them, we still don't recommend the canned version of this meat. As one reviewer warned on Amazon, bought this on a dare. Be drunk when you attempt to eat it. But even being intoxicated may not be enough to stomach these brains. No matter how badly you want to impress your friends or your internet following, it simply isn't worth it. We shouldn't have to say anything more, but in case you're still somewhat tempted, we'll leave you with the words of this Redditor. It looked like gray scrambled eggs. In this day where we know about prion diseases, why is anyone still eating brains?
Love biscuits? Love biscuits so much that you can make an entire meal out of them? You should know then which brands will satisfy that craving and which will leave you disappointed. We have the scoop, and it's not all about Pillsbury anymore. Walmart's Great Value Store brand sells thousands of products at prices noticeably lower than most grocery stores, which makes cooking on a budget a lot more accessible for many people. Walmart has jumbo biscuits available for just over $1 per standard 16-ounce can containing 8 biscuits. We're not sure how Walmart is able to price their products so incredibly low, but we can't argue that it's an incredible value. But just because the products are a great price doesn't always mean that they're great tasting. Reviews on the Walmart website are varied, with the most negative reviews saying that the biscuits themselves are mostly flavorless besides a hint of chemicals and bake with little to no color. We'd recommend skipping these, and if a low price is what's important to you, we've got some recommendations for that on our list too. It's hard to deny the slow creep of Amazon-branded products into our daily lives, and with the rapid growth of Amazon Fresh services, we are finding more and more Amazon groceries in our refrigerators and on our plates as well. It's fair to assume that if your grocery store sells a generic version of something, Amazon probably does too, including biscuits. Happy Belly is one of the Amazon brands that sell grocery items. Like other brands, they sell 2 variations of the classic pop can biscuits: Jumbo Flaky Butter-flavored biscuits and Jumbo Buttermilk biscuits. Their price point is incredibly low, but the ingredient lists look nearly identical to some of the other lower-priced biscuits on the market. That means several oils, stabilizers, and artificial flavors are listed. Still, we'll admit that it's really convenient that they're delivered straight to your door if you're an Amazon Prime member. If you haven't heard of Mary B's, it's probably because the biscuits are found on the freezer aisle instead of the refrigerated dairy section. Mary B's has been making biscuits since 1997 and currently have several styles of biscuit, including buttermilk, Southern Made, butter taste, thin biscuits, tea biscuits, and jumbo buttermilk biscuits. They're also an economically priced option, which is a bonus. A quick look at the ingredient list lets us know that real buttermilk is actually used in these biscuits, but there's also a lot of additional oils and artificial flavors that we don't absolutely love. Biscuits, after all, are pretty straightforward, and it's worrying when they get too complicated, unless we're talking about what we put on and in them. And then, sky's the limit. It shouldn't come as a surprise that Trader Joe's has their own store brand of biscuits and that there's a loyal following for them. There's just one regular biscuit in the refrigerated section at Trader Joe's, and it's a classic buttermilk biscuit. Reviews are decent enough, but the buttermilk taste is especially apparent with these biscuits. If you enjoy that particular style of biscuit over super buttery biscuits, this might be the can you want to check out. Otherwise, they're generally summed up as being just sort of fine. While Trader Joe's hits it out of the park pretty often, their version of buttermilk biscuits seems to be more of a mediocre offering. Annie's has become one of the most reliable brands for people who want organic pantry items, and it's also one of the cornerstone brands for gluten-free, dairy-free, and vegan food options. The Annie's Organic Flaky Biscuits are no different, providing a delicious vegan alternative to canned biscuits made with dairy products. Although strangely, the can says there may be milk ingredients present even though no dairy ingredients are listed, so strict vegans may want to keep that in mind. Based on what we found, they tend to be slightly higher priced than some of the other biscuit brands, but surprisingly low for an organic option. They're slightly less sweet than some of the competitors' brands, and we appreciate that Annie's has been able to make a quality vegan biscuit, and we think that many people may not even notice the difference unless they were told. However, for people who love ultra buttery home-style biscuits, these may fall a little short. You might not have expected Red Lobster to make a showing, but in October of 2021, the company launched a store-bought version of their famous Cheddar Bay biscuits. Talk about the ultimate comfort food at home. A quick look at the ingredients shows us that they're made with real shredded cheddar cheese, buttermilk, and a specialty garlic herb blend. If you're a big fan of these biscuits but can't make it into one of the restaurants, a package of Cheddar Bay biscuits in the freezer at home seems like a fantastic alternative. This is currently the only flavor Red Lobster offers in frozen form, and with a product so singularly popular, why mess with success? Pillsbury is the easiest of all the canned biscuits to find. They've been around forever, are available in nearly every grocery store, big box store that sells groceries, or convenience store. Not only are Pillsbury biscuits the most widely available and some of the tastiest, but the company also makes the widest selection of biscuit flavors and styles on the market. Variety is the spice of life, the saying goes, and Pillsbury has enough options that you can mix it up in so many ways. Not only are there 4 types of biscuits that you can buy from Pillsbury, but all of the biscuits except the sweet biscuits biscuits are available in either flaky layers or Southern home style, and either of these are legit contenders for space on the dinner table. They also come in flavors that include original, buttermilk, butter tastin', honey butter, and Southern recipe. The sweet biscuits are available in chocolate chip and blueberry. Since there are so many options, your grocery store probably doesn't sell every single style and flavor, but there's a good chance they sell one you're going to like. With a product that's been popular for generations, you'd think that would be all Pillsbury needs to offer, but they've actually gone a step further and created hundreds of recipes and posted them on the Pillsbury website, many of which include ideas on meals you can create with their biscuits. These biscuits aren't just for breakfast, but for lunch, dinner, and dessert as well. Who could resist?
Dennis, what are you talking about? Actually, that is a really good point. What are you talking about? Dennis, be able to speak.
Biscuits.
Immaculate Organic Flaky Biscuits are made by General Mills, which purchased the Immaculate Baking Company in 2012. For those looking for an organic alternative to some of the larger brand name biscuits, Immaculate Baking Company has made a biscuit that bakes up perfectly golden on the outside and pillowy soft on the inside, with noticeable pull-apart layers. Each biscuit is about 2 ounces each, which is on the larger side for biscuits, and a can of 8 should comfortably feed a family of 4 to 6. That means they get some bonus points for keeping everyone happy. These biscuits are described as being dairy-free, kosher, vegan, and vegetarian. But while no specific dairy products are listed in the ingredients, there is an allergy warning on the website and the can that the biscuits may contain milk ingredients. Unfortunately, that means it's debatable whether or not the biscuits are actually vegan. If you're comfortable with possible trace amounts of dairy and you're looking for an easy organic canned biscuit option, you might want to try the Immaculate Organic Flaky Biscuits next time you're at your favorite organic market. Aldi is known for taking name brand products and creating grocery items that are often just as good, if not better, than the original, at a much lower price than you'd find in a typical grocery store. Part of that comes from the wholesale style layout of the stores, and part of it is by owning and manufacturing their own store brand products. We were delighted to see that Aldi makes canned biscuits under the Bakehouse Creations store label. There are 2 options available: Jumbo Flaky Biscuits and Jumbo Buttermilk Biscuits. Each contains 8 biscuits, and it's also one of the most affordable available on our list. Reviewers laud the biscuits as being everything you want in a biscuit, while still being only about $1 a can. They're called deliciously buttery, perfectly flaky, and great for any application. Whether you're eating them plain or making a breakfast sandwich, we really can't complain. Mason-Dixie was founded in 2014 and produces real-deal biscuits as well as scones, rolls, and breakfast sandwiches, all available in the frozen section of the grocery store. They may have left the pop-open cans behind in favor of freezing, but these are as close to homemade biscuits as you're going to get without actually making them yourself. The ingredients list only includes ingredients you'd actually cook with at home, including flour, buttermilk, butter, milk, sugar, baking powder, and salt. There are no preservatives or artificial flavors anywhere. The biscuits are also a little larger than most of the other jumbo-sized biscuits. All of those real ingredients come at a cost, however, and they're one of the most expensive options available. Mason-Dixie also makes biscuits in a wider variety of flavors than most of the competition, with varieties like buttermilk, cheddar, garlic parmesan, jalapeno cheddar, cheddar chive, savory herb, and even pumpkin spice. You can go from pulling the biscuits out of the freezer to fully baked in about 25 to 30 minutes, with none of the effort that it takes to make the biscuits from scratch. So while the price per package is a little steep, it just might be worth it if you want the pleasure of real handmade biscuits, but don't have the time or energy to make them yourself.
Canned chicken can be a controversial subject, and there's really only one question. Do you love it or hate it? Let's talk about just what it is, and it turns out that some facts, including where some of these chickens come from, just might change your mind. One major downside of eating chicken from a can is the likelihood that the animals were raised in inhumane conditions. Because canned meat requires more processing than fresh meat, the animals are often raised in factories where chickens are crowded and abused. Chef and nutritionist Serena Poon explained to Eat This, Not That, much industrial chicken is raised in terrible conditions, and many have infections and are treated with antibiotics. This maltreatment isn't just a moral consideration when eating canned meat, it's also a good indication that the meat isn't very good for you. Poon adds, antibiotic use in meat production is specifically connected to human health concerns, such as antibiotic resistance and child development issues. In addition, industrialized meat lacks some of the nutrition you'll find in fresh chicken. Animals that are fed grains rather than fibrous plants as most are on factory farms, don't provide you with vitamin E, beta-carotene, and omega-3 fatty acids as much as fresh chicken does. Canned chicken isn't known for having the same kind of flavor as, say, a deliciously fresh piece of fried chicken, without the crispy skin, savory juices, and combination of dark and white meat. Chicken dinner just isn't the same. Still, if you're looking for a non-perishable source of protein or a quick and easy solution to a last-minute meal, you could do worse than a can of chicken. Particularly, Kirkland Signature Premium Chunk Chicken Breast. That's often lauded as chicken that's tender and moist and, as reviewers claim, your best option for a chicken sandwich or salad. On the other hand, if you come across Hormel chicken breast in the canned goods aisle, it's probably best to leave it there. The low amount of sodium in this can was meant to be a selling point, but the flavorless, dry meat tastes like punishment. Before the chicken is canned, it gets fully cooked, so it's ready to eat as soon as you open the can. All canned chicken has to be cooked to a certain temperature, usually 165 degrees Fahrenheit, to make sure any harmful pathogens are killed. When the chicken is canned, it creates a barrier that protects against bacteria and removes the oxygen on which bacteria feeds. So, canning chicken essentially freezes the meat in time at the perfect point, just before it's ready to be eaten, but before it spoils. The result is chicken that stays fresh and tasty for years. Yep, years. Just waiting for your next craving. Just make sure you're ready to eat it when you open the can. Whatever is inside will only stay fresh for a few days once the seal has been broken. Regular cooked chicken will last in your fridge for about 3 to 4 days, and if you don't have time for frequent shopping trips, that can be a pain. If you want to keep chicken on hand for longer, canned chicken is the way to go. As long as it stays sealed, canned chicken will last up to 3 to 5 years on your shelf.
I have the best stocked survival shelter in northeastern Pennsylvania. But everything has a shelf life, so I must eat and then replace everything that's about to expire.
It's also worth noting that even though the can might have an expiration date printed on it, that date usually indicates when the chicken surpasses its peak quality. After that date, the chicken is likely still safe to eat, it just might be a little less tasty.
It's nice not to have to plan my meals.
Of course, if you notice a foul smell coming from your chicken when you open the can, you'll want to throw it out regardless of the printed expiration date. Similarly, moldy or discolored chicken should not be eaten. Another good indication that canned food is unsafe is if the can is leaking, rusted, or dented. In these cases, it's best to be on the safe side and buy a new can, rather than risk food poisoning. While canned chicken can be both accessible and delicious, it's not something you want to eat every day. That's because excessive amounts of salt are added to most canned foods, including chicken. The Center for Science in the Public Interest explains that in order to ensure canned foods are bacteria-free, the food is processed in such a way that it is often stripped of its flavor. Salt is a cheap way to make up for that loss, and although extra sodium may make your food tastier, it doesn't do much for your health. Consuming too much salt can cause high blood pressure and, in more serious cases, heart attack or stroke. Generally, the amount of sodium in a single can of chicken can range from 500 to 1,000 milligrams. For context, the daily recommended sodium intake is less than 2,300 milligrams, and a similar amount of fresh chicken contains fewer than 80 milligrams of sodium. Sometimes canned chicken can be the perfect replacement for the fresh stuff. Convenient, non-perishable, and ready as fast as you can open a can. It can save the day in some situations. Looking for a quick and easy pizza topping? Look no further, but be careful. Canned chicken isn't always the best alternative to use in all recipes. Some of the fresh chicken taste is lost in the canning process, and the result is a salty but otherwise flavorless chicken that can ruin a dish with subtle flavors. Also, when it's incorporated into a recipe that requires additional cooking, canned chicken often leaks out much of the liquid it is soaked in, making for a watery mess. Cooking a fresh chicken can be simple, and the amplified flavor is worth the extra effort. We get it. The idea of a whole chicken in a can sounds really, really weird. But here's the thing. You only live once, and getting to say you actually tried a whole chicken in a can That's some priceless dinner time conversation right there. You can still buy whole canned chicken from a brand called Sweet Sue. And when we say whole chicken, we mean it. Sweet Sue's whole canned chicken includes the whole bird, minus the giblets, plus some extra broth in which to warm up the meat. That's over 3 pounds of chicken in a can. Should you eat it? We might not go that far, but we will say, shouldn't the true chicken connoisseur try it in all forms? Most would agree that a succulent ham makes for a great headliner to a meal. But what if you don't have the time or money for such a thing? Well, that's what canned ham is for. But which canned ham is best? Keep watching for our ranking from worst to best. People have been smoking meat for centuries. The process preserves the meat and adds flavor, but it does take time. So when you want to enjoy smoked meat but are short on time, having a great-tasting smoked canned ham stocked in your pantry could be pretty useful. However, if you were thinking about buying Bristol's hickory smoked canned ham,
Bad idea.
most smoked meats are infused with the distinctive flavor of wood smoke, but this product lacked the hickory taste we were looking for. Though we don't expect the same level of flavor as, say, Benton's country ham from a canned product. Bristol's ham was bland and tasted a lot more like Spam than canned ham, let alone fresh ham. It also had a spongy texture that we really didn't appreciate. This product was a huge disappointment and we wouldn't recommend it. Founded over 90 years ago, Iberia is a company that manufactures all sorts of different food products, including rice, beans, pasta, and meats. The company's products are available in over 12,000 stores in the United States. Its Iberia cooked ham comes in a 16-ounce black can with a hot, roasted sliced ham on the front graphic. The meat itself is branded as being without both skin and bones and is preserved in mostly water, salt, and sugar, among other ingredients. This was one of the most unappealing canned hams on this list. Most ham is rich, salty, and full of many other incredible flavors. When it's glazed in honey, that makes the ham even better. While we understand that a canned ham might not be as good as an actual slab of meat, we think that it should taste like something. Unfortunately, this didn't have anything in terms of taste. Iberia's cooked ham was pretty flavorless, and ham by itself should have some flavor. Bizarrely, it did have a strong smell despite its bland taste. Even if you wanted to spice up your canned ham on your own, Iberia's canned ham won't add anything but a strange stench to your ham pot pie recipe. When a food brand has the name Royale, we assume that what we buy from them is good enough for Queen Elizabeth to eat. That being said, this Canadian ham brand is not something we would even feed to our dogs. Not only was Royale's boneless cooked ham unfit for royalty, but it wasn't fit for any of us either. This canned ham falls under the tastes like Spam instead of ham category of canned hams on this list. It had a disturbingly soft texture. The meat easily fell apart and was a little mushy. Like other canned meat products, Royale's ham can be served hot or cold, though we can't say we'd want it either way. Not only is it one of the lower quality hams on this list, but it's also rather expensive on Amazon. It's listed at about $20 for a pack of 2 cans. It's possible that it would be cheaper if you found it at a store, but even then, you probably shouldn't waste any money on this. We definitely wouldn't serve this to a member of the royal family or to anyone else for that matter. Goya makes an incredibly wide variety of products aimed at Latin and Caribbean consumers. In addition to rice, beans, oil, and many other products, the company has a line of canned meats. The brand's canned cooked ham is branded as easy to serve with salads, rice dishes, and soups, but the product isn't something we'd enjoy in any of these meals. Like many of the lower-ranked hams on this list, Goya's canned ham tasted a lot like really salty, watery Spam instead of a decent, quality ham. It's made from chunks of meat that are fused together rather than a whole piece of pork. There are some people who like this product, but other reviewers online don't enjoy this meat. We recommend that you avoid this canned meat because of its displeasing taste. Hamonilla Classic Pre-Cooked Ham comes right from Denmark and is made by the brand Tulip. Tulip is a Danish-owned company that was founded in 1887 and is owned by Danish Crown Foods. The brand describes itself as one of the largest meat companies in Europe. The company's website has many different recipes you can make with its meat products, such as rice noodles and breakfast burritos. This meat gives off the impression that it's quite versatile, but we wouldn't put this on our burritos. This is not a top-tier canned ham. Its flavor is lacking, and though it doesn't taste exactly like Spam, it also doesn't taste like good quality ham either. One shopper on Amazon even found that this product, though well before its expiration date, arrived super black, smelly, and eerily moldy. Even without the mold, this product doesn't have anything going for it, and we wouldn't use this in a sandwich, casserole, or any other satisfying dish. Celebrity boneless cooked ham is made with natural juices and is 96% fat-free. This ham is imported by the Atalanta Corporation in New Jersey, which has been importing meat products such as Celebrity's ham since 1945. Much like the Royale ham, the name of this product promises something fancier than the contents deliver. Celebrity ham is made with gelatin, making it less meat-like in terms of texture and more like a Jell-O meatloaf. If you can get past that, the meat itself tastes like a combination of jiggly ham and Spam, with the latter being the dominant flavor. We do appreciate the hint of ham flavor in this that is missing from the previous entries on this list, while it is easier to slice and put on a sandwich than some other canned hams because of its strange texture. The main question is whether we'd actually want this on our ham and cheese sandwich. For us, that answer is
nope. Nope, 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 nope.
And if you have a choice, you might want to avoid this product as well. The next canned ham on this list wasn't horrible, but it wasn't out of this world either. Dutch Colony cooked ham comes in a black can with a smiling, blonde-haired Dutch woman in a field of flowers. While the graphic is pretty, we can't say the same about the meat. The meat has a softer texture than we would like and is pretty salty. It seems to be difficult to master canned ham, as the product needs to be preservable but also tastes like a good quality ham. Reception for this product is rather mixed, as it has a higher rating than other canned meats, but a good number of critics don't enjoy it. While this was better than other canned hams and we'd eat this if we had to, it's not going to be our first choice. Denmark seems to specialize in canned ham. Several of the brands on this list, including Celebrity and Royale, come from that country. Dock Premium Ham is another Danish entry in our ranking. Unlike some of the previous hams on this list that might be hard to find in stores, this product is available at Walmart and can also be purchased in bulk online. When first looking at this product, we were hit with a somewhat strange aroma, but the meat actually looked like ham. It also didn't remind us too much of Spam, and when cooked, tasted more like a nice juicy ham as well. We could easily see ourselves roasting this canned meat whole or slicing it up to put in a salad or on a sandwich. This is something that we'd try again without too much complaint. What lies inside the walls of Walmart? Pretty much everything, actually. If you need something, it's more than likely you can find it at Walmart. It should come as no surprise by now that when we do food product rankings, there's a good chance one of the items will be a Walmart brand. In this case, it's Great Value Original Luncheon Meat. This meat is made from pork and has both a standard and lower sodium variant, both of which you can find online. Great Value products can be a little hit or miss, but Walmart's luncheon meat was decent in both texture and flavor. While we wouldn't serve it as a Christmas centerpiece, it still tasted heavily of ham. A couple of reviews compare it to Spam, but most people have positive things to say about this meat. Bottom line, this generic ham is a winner. As for other generic brands, those pale in comparison to both the big brand and Walmart's. While this is branded as more of a pork-based lunch meat than specifically as a ham, we'd gladly have this on a sandwich or serve it with any meal that needs a bit of protein. Butterfield Farms offers a wide variety of canned meats, including roast beef and white chicken. Butterfield Farms diced ham is certainly one of the best pig products on this list. It comes in a smaller, round blue can, so while we wish there was a bit more meat in a single can, we're pleased that the meat that was there tasted decent. This product is fully cooked, infused with smoke flavoring, and cut up into small chunks. Not only is this product sold for a good price online, but it also tastes great. It isn't overly salty or watery, and it tastes like actual ham. It delivered on the smoke flavor as well, which we enjoyed. We could easily see ourselves putting this on a Hawaiian pizza or any other ham dish. If you find yourself putting this on pasta or salad, you won't be disappointed. At the number one spot on this list, we have Hormel canned smoked ham. We had low expectations for this ham, but were shocked by its high quality. Hormel smoked ham comes in a round 5-ounce container, and unlike the brand's canned chicken, which did poorly on our canned chicken ranking, this product actually tastes pretty amazing. It is made with smoke flavoring and ground ham and is cured in just the right amount of sugar and salt.
Perfecto.
We've had a lot to say about the other canned hams on this list, but with Hormel's ham, we'd rather stop talking and just eat it. This meat is not only simple to prepare, but also great to add to tacos, meat pies, or any recipes you want to try that require ham.